All right, and welcome in, everybody. Hope you're all having a fantastic, fantabulous, awesome freaking day. My name is Garrett Shoemake, and this is the Shoemake Take. Today, in this video, we got to talk about the New England Patriots, breaking down how I think they're going to do here in 2025. But before we jump into this discussion, if you don't know what this is the 2025 NFL season preview series where I break down every single NFL team and discuss how I think their 2025 season is going to go. And here is how it works. If you want to jump into the discussion and don't want to listen to all this mumbo jumbo, the timestamp is in the playhead and also in the video description. So go ahead and knock yourself out. But for those of you that want to know how this series works, here is what we're going to be talking about. So we're going to start with talking about 2024. We're going to quickly recap it. What was their record? What happened? Pretty much to give people a baseline of what happened last year. And then we'll jump into their offseason, talking about, in this case for the Patriots, we'll talk about them bringing in head coach Mike Vrabel, along with some other coaches that they brought in. And then we'll talk about their free agency, who they added, who they lost. Then we'll talk about their draft and what I like about it. And then I'll actually get in talking about the team and getting into 2025 and pretty much saying how I feel this team is going to be. Are they going to be good? Are they going to be bad? And then we'll talk about some strengths and some weaknesses to look for each team, in this case the Patriots. And then after that, we'll analyze the Patriots schedule, break it all down, see where their easy matchups are, where their tough matchups are, identify some matchups I think are very important. And then after that, I'll give you my official record prediction for the Patriots, and then we'll wrap it up with some storylines that we should be looking for following the Patriots this season. So let's begin talking about the New England Patriots without further ado, and we got to go back to 2024 where things were quite grim and a far cry from what things were for the past 20 years for this franchise. They are 4-13. They were not a good football team, and they were probably one of the few teams that I would say they were truly boring. This team was almost unwatchable. This might be the most boring team in football last year, and nothing, barely anything looked good. Hey, Christian Gonzalez had an all-pro year somehow, which is fantastic for him. But for the rest of this team, it just was not good, and they were doomed from the start. I had this team going 3-14 going into 2024. I was not high on them. I thought their roster was bad. I was not super motivated by the Gerard Mayo hire, but I was remaining hopeful because obviously you want that stuff to work out. Obviously it didn't work out, and now there's a whole nother issue because some people think that he was just a scapegoat, which I hope that's not the case. That would be very sad for the Patriots and their standing as an organization, but they just were not good. Their defense ranked 20th in almost every category, and their offense was 30th or lower in almost every category. I mean, especially on the offensive side, they were putrid to watch. Even with Drake May in there, I mean, everything else was not working. Offensive line, bad. Receivers, bad. The best game the Patriots had all year was Week 18 when Joe Milton went in there and started playing his butt off. So there's not a lot coming off here to really like. But they did a good job, I think, this offseason of fixing that and being a more interesting football team this go around. And that starts with the hiring of Mike Vrabel, the former coach of the Tennessee Titans. Took a year off last year to bask in the sun or do whatever that he was doing. And now he's back in the coaching circuit, doing his thing, coaching for his former team that drafted him, where he spent a long time, won numerous Super Bowls over there as well, including catching 12 receiving touchdowns and throughout his career, which that's a fun fact about Mike Vrabel if you didn't know that. And then he brought in a couple other coaches, brought in a bunch of new coaches, including former Titans coaches Terrell Williams, who was their defensive line coach. He also came from Detroit last year, he was their defensive line coach. And then brought in his little buddy Todd Downing. Let me tell you about Todd Downing before we continue for a second. They brought him in to be a wide receivers coach. Good luck, because you're going to need it. Todd Downing, if you go mention that name in Nashville right now, and some people might come at your throat. We hate Todd Downing. Titans fans over here, we despise that man. Not only because what did he take the number one offense in the NFL in 2020, 2021 with a better offense on paper with Julio Jones, made it go from one of the best to average, and then after that, his next 2 years were literally, no, the next year after that was the worst offense in the NFL, objectively speaking, in my opinion, and he was gone after that. And here's the deal. Then after that, he went to the Jets, was their passing game coordinator. That was a disaster. Then took over play calling duties because Nathaniel Hackett got let go, and then he had to take over. And that was also terrible. Like, the Jets didn't learn from how bad he tanked the Titans offense and their entire team almost single-handedly because his play calling, which is the biggest issue, good God. But then again, this is his first time being a wide receiver coach. He was normally a tight ends coach when he was in Tennessee before he became a coordinator and stepped into that role. So an entirely new spot for him. We'll have to see what happens, but I'm not super optimistic about that. I'm not a Todd Downing guy. The last time he actually coached a good game, he ended up driving drunk and then ended up being garbage for the rest of the year in 2022. So that should tell you everything you need to know. But either way, interesting to note, for Mike Vrabel specifically on the coaching circuit, is that normally Mike Vrabel is a guy that brings in a lot of his own guys, right? We're talking about guys that he's been with before and has experience with, and he's got a lot of experience with some of these coaches that he brought in, but not as much as he normally does, which is interesting because Mike Vrabel's always been about that. He's been that type of coach, and obviously connections are a part of the NFL. It's part of life, but he really didn't go for as much connections as he does normally. So it's interesting. It's a very interesting perspective and approach from Mike Vrabel. Very uncharacteristic of him as his time as the Titans coach. And then Josh McDaniels coming back as the offensive coordinator is very encouraging. You think about all the great years that their offense was good under Josh McDaniels in New England with Tom Brady, and Josh McDaniels was the mastermind behind all of that. So getting him back in the building is also encouraging. It is exciting. Say what you want about his time as the Broncos head coach and recently the Raiders head coach. He's one dang good offensive coordinator. So that is very, very exciting for the New England Patriots coaching staff. And then you get into free agency and who they brought in during the offseason. And on the offensive side of the ball, it's highlighted by wide receiver Stephon Diggs. They gave him a 3-year deal. He was in Houston last year, tore his ACL early on, done for the year. And just like that, his time in Houston was a blur and an afterthought. I'm not really excited about this move, honestly, because he's coming off that torn ACL. I'm not so sure that he's going to be as productive as he was when he was with the Bills or with the Vikings. I'm not so sure about that. So him being the wide receiver 1 concerns me, but we'll just have to see what happens once week 1 rolls around. They also brought in wide receiver Mac Hollins, low-end starting wide receiver in the NFL. If you guys don't know who this guy is, this is the guy that wears a whole bunch of crazy outfits and walks around barefoot everywhere. Got really well known for that in his time with the Buffalo Bills over these past couple of years. But he is there. He's a speedster. He can be explosive. So bringing him in is very much appreciated. And then they also brought in right tackle Morgan Moses and center Garrett Bradbury, 2 veteran players that have been in the league for a little while now. Morgan Moses has been in the league for a long time now. And so you bring in a couple guys to start for you and kind of shore up an offensive line that was outright a disaster last year, and hoping that it's not a disaster this year. So the offensive side bringing in didn't do a whole lot, but very responsible moves for the most part. I can agree with that statement. And then on the defensive side is where they spend a little bit more money and have a little bit more notable signings. They invested heavily onto this side of the ball, with their biggest signing on the entire team being defensive tackle Milton Williams coming from the Philadelphia Eagles. He was their 3rd man behind Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter. And he's now going to be stepping into a new role. He's going to be the number 1 guy now instead of the number 3 guy. And so here's the hoping that he can step up and really take on that role and become pretty good for the Patriots. They also brought in defensive tackle Kyrie's Tonga to take up the other starting spot as of right now, potentially. I don't know what their camp battle is going to look like there. I don't know if he's set in stone to be a starter or not, but looking at ESPN's depth chart, not the best source of information, admittedly, but it looks like he is slated to be the starter right now, so we'll have to see. He's definitely going to be in competition for it, if not the front runner. And then you look at edge rusher Harold Landry, another former Titan, coming in to be reunite with his head coach Mike Vrabel. Gave him a 3-year deal. Titans cut him earlier this offseason. They tried to get him to take a pay cut, didn't want it, and so the Titans went and said, okay, bye-bye, we're going to get younger. Still don't really like the idea of cutting Harold Landry on the Tennessee Titans side of things, but at the same time, I could understand why. Was not that good last year, as not as much as the stats would tell you. And also, he was set to make $24 million. So it's a lot of money for a guy that really is not living up to the contract anymore at this point. And then you also bring in another former Titan. You look at linebacker Jack Gibbons. We call him Dr. Gibby, a guy that's not very athletic, but is a very smart player. And he will get downhill. Not get downhill per se, not like athletically, but he'll be in the right place at the right time. And then you look at Robert Spillane, who he also brought in, another similar guy. Not as athletic as compared to some other linebackers, but is going to be in the right place at the right time. And then you look at corner Carlton Davis, coming from Detroit, formerly with the Bucs before that. A guy who's been good everywhere he's been, and also has a lot of experience. He was drafted in the late rounds of 2019 for Tampa, and he's been a starter since day one. So, I mean, he's played in a ton of games. There's a lot of experience. So getting that to pair with Christian Gonzalez, their young all-pro corner, that's a fantastic duo in my opinion. They should be fun to watch in 2025. And so you get into their losses, and there's really nothing here. There's really nothing here at all. They lost Jacoby Brissett, and they replaced him with Josh Dobbs. Lateral move, fine by me. Then they lost Giovanni Ricci at fullback / tight end, fine. And then the other notable one, they lost kicker Joey Sly. He ended up going to Tennessee. So there's that. And then Chukwuma Okorafor, I think he ended up going to the Jets because I've been doing AFC East videos this week. I've been seeing this guy's name on the list so many times. So at this point, I'm just kind of seeing him there. I was like, okay, this is where he went, or this is where he ended up getting cut by. Like, following his name has been interesting. But on the defensive side, Deatrick Wise and Jonathan Jones. Deatrick Wise and Jones, these guys have been with the Patriots for a while, especially Jonathan Jones. He was a former undrafted free agent and slowly worked his way up the depth chart to where he was a starter last year. Let him go, which is unfortunate, but they brought in new blood, and so that is how the NFL works. The NFL is a business after all. But I would say the free agency was good. It was also very uncharacteristic because they spent more money than any other team in the NFL this year in free agency. And the Patriots don't spend money in free agency. They're known to be a little bit more conservative in that department. So to see them make that drastic change is very encouraging. It shows that last year was not good enough. That was terrible. And the Patriots have a higher standard than that. Given 20 years of dominance, they expect more. And so they went out and they did something different for once, which I can really, really appreciate because the Patriots have felt stagnant these past few years. And this is not a stagnant or move that stagnant teams make. So very encouraging. It's very exciting. All the moves that they've made, we'll have to see if it pays off, but very, very encouraging nonetheless. And speaking of encouraging, their draft was pretty darn good in my opinion. And it starts with LSU tackle Will Campbell, 4th overall pick. And this guy, I'm on the side of Will Campbell being a franchise left tackle because a lot of people knocked on him. His big knock was his arm length. He had the big enough length. He'd be more suited for a guard in the NFL, similar to Peter Skoronski, if you want to make another Titans correlation here. But Will Campbell, I think he can be a franchise left tackle potentially because what you want to see in an undersized guy playing a position, does he know the technique? Is he able to have technique and have the smarts to compensate for his deficiencies? And I saw that on his tape. I saw that he knew that his arm length wasn't good enough, and he found ways to compensate for it and continue playing at a high level and shutting down some of the best edge rushers in the SEC. And so I think that he can be a left tackle. He's got the right mentality for it. He works really hard. And he also, on draft night, I've said this multiple times on this show, but he said that he was willing to lay down and die for Drake May if it means protecting him. And that's the type of guy you want in your franchise left tackle. So I'm very excited to see how he develops throughout his rookie year. So that's exciting. And then the 2nd round pick, Travion Henderson, the running back out of Ohio State. Quinshawn Junkins was the smash. Travion Henderson was the dash for the Buckeyes. Very, very fast, great acceleration, shifty, can catch out of the backfield. Obviously, his highlight moment was against Texas in the college football playoff where he took a screen pass to the house right before halftime. Incredible play where he just put on rockets in the second half of that run. So you get a very explosive playmaker here in Travion Henderson. And that continues in the 3rd round with wide receiver Kyle Williams out of Washington State. This guy is a slot receiver, which is uncommon for Mike Vrabel-led offenses. And he averaged over 17 yards a catch in his final year at Washington State. Very explosive playmaker, one of the best or most explosive playmakers in all of college football at the wide receiver position last year. So you double up on explosiveness on your 2nd and 3rd round picks. Very, very encouraging. And then, with their other 3rd round pick, they selected Jared Wilson, the center out of Georgia. Developmental guy is going to need some time to sit and learn, which is why they brought in Garrett Bradbury, but has enough raw physical talent where if you can develop him, he could be your franchise center for a long time. So getting him here in the 3rd round, betting on an upside, I can respect it. I like it. First 4 picks investing onto the offensive side of the football. Very, very, very encouraging stuff. And then you get to Craig Woodson, 4th round pick. And he was all right last year, pretty good. I think he was undersized. I can't remember his profile as I looked at it when he got drafted. But they like this guy. They obviously took him. I think it was in a high 4th round as well. So if they're encouraged by it, I'm encouraged by it. And then in the 4th round, again, they selected defensive tackle Joshua Farmer. This guy, very raw in terms of his tool set, but has good feet, good power in his feet, so a good base. So that stuff is foundationally you like to see in a defensive tackle coming out. So if you can get him to refine his technique, increase his tool bag a little bit, if you will, of getting after the passer and stuffing the run, then you could get a solid player and get some solid value here. And they get great value with their next pick, edge rusher Braden Swinson out of LSU, going up against Will Campbell in camp all those times over there in Death Valley. Braden Swinson, while I don't think he's got a super high-end ceiling, I think he has the ceiling to being like a really good number 2 edge rusher in the NFL. Very lean, can win with finesse, can win with a little bit of power. And what you look at on his tape, he wins his matchups. He knows what to do. He knows what's being asked of him, and he can go win his one-on-one matchups in the pass rush, and that's why they took him, and I thought they got great value. I thought this guy could have gone as high as that like late 2nd round, early 3rd round, so getting him all the way in the 5th, fantastic value. And then Mike Vrabel, 2 picks on special teams, Andreas Borgalis in the 6th round, and then line snapper Julian Ashby in the 7th. Those 2 guys, don't know a whole lot about them because they're special teams. I'm not a big special teams guru, I apologize. But they let go of their long snapper and their kicker, so brought in some new blood to go try and compete and go see what they can do. And then Marcus Bryant in the 7th round, offensive tackle. This guy is going to be on the practice squad probably, but he's like 6'8", 330 pounds, and was one of the most athletic tackles in this draft class in terms of their testing numbers at the combine. He has a lot of raw potential, and if he could develop, that would be insane. He could be a really good tackle if they develop, but it's going to be a long road ahead for him. Like I said, he's probably going to be on the practice squad, if not on the bottom of the depth chart on the offensive line. So we'll have to see what he does, but good value, dart throw, like it. And then Kobe Minor in the 7th round, another dart throw. Did not know a whole lot about him coming out, but Kobe Minor as a corner, they could use a corner, continue to build depth there, so I can respect it. I can get behind it. So overall, I think this draft at the top was very, very good. Got a great value edge rusher in Braden Swinson. And so I can be very encouraged by what the Patriots have done overall in their offseason. They spent a lot of money, brought in some good players, drafted some good players, especially on the offensive side of the ball. And I can definitely say with a resounding yes, this roster is better. This team is improved. They are a better football team in every facet whatsoever. Their team, their roster, their coaches, it's all an improvement. And for a team that was so bad last year, that is so encouraging. That's so exciting. We're going to see Patriots football this year that actually somewhat means something for once, for the first time in a few years since Brady left. Oh my goodness. We're going to see something good this year, I think. Is it going to be great? Obviously not. But there's going to be a lot of encouraging things. And I think this Patriots team, well, I'm kind of going to burst the bubble slightly. I think this team is going to be mid. I don't think this roster is fantastic, but it is a much better state than what it was last year. But they're going to be a very, very competitive football team. They're going to be in a lot of close games. And with the better coach, better roster, I guarantee this team is going to look the part. I am willing to guarantee you that this team is going to be a much better football team than what they looked like last year on offense and defense. I will say that with a guarantee. There's no doubt in my mind that this team is going to be better, play better, and look better, and probably get better as the year goes along. And then you look at what they're doing good on their roster, their strengths. Quarterback is not the number one strength, but Drake May going into year 2, I don't think he's going to pop off. But I do think that he's going to continue to slowly develop, continue to slowly improve, and be stable. The Patriots have not had stability at the quarterback position since Tom Brady left. The second he left, it went to crap. Cam Newton was nothing. Mac Jones was good his rookie year, and then they could never figure out how to build around him and get the right coaches around him after that. And a couple years after he was drafted, and after 2021, where he could have been rookie of the year, gone, and now he's a backup bouncing around the league. And so Drake May has the potential to really stabilize the quarterback position. And for the Patriots that have not had that since Brady left, I will consider that a strength considering how bad it's been otherwise. And then running back, I'm going to consider a strength. Last year, their running game was one of the only good things, somewhat good things about the Patriots last year. Ramondre Stevenson is a really good back. I like him. Then Antonio Gibson, slightly disappointing, but he has a lot of experience, played in a lot of games, so you like that. And then you add Travion Henderson into that list, and now you got the explosiveness that they were missing in that department. And I think a 1-2 punch of Travion Henderson and Ramondre Stevenson could be a really fun duo if this offensive line plays pretty well. So I'm going to be looking forward to that. And then linebacker is another strength of the New England Patriots. I already mentioned Jack Gibbons and Robert Spillane. They're guys, they got plenty of depth. I like it. Jelani Tavai is still there as well. He's an okay player. I like what they have. I think they're going to be solid. I don't think they're going to be a liability whatsoever. And this is something I've also said with a lot of teams that have strength at linebacker so far in this series. You want your linebackers to be good. If there's any 3 set of positions or set spots on the defensive side of the ball that need to be good and not be bad, it's the linebackers. They patrol the middle of the field. They're the quarterbacks of the defense. They are so important to the chemistry of a defense and how everything runs. You may have a great defensive line and a great secondary, but if you have bad linebackers, your defense is going to struggle. They're going to have some bad moments, and they locked up and stabilized his linebacker position, and I'm really excited to see what they can do. Is it going to be fantastic? No, they don't have the athletic talent for that, but these guys are going to be in the right place. They're going to be there in the right time. They're going to do what's asked of them. And so for a young defense that has some good pieces, that's all you really want. And so I'm excited about that. And then corner is another strength. Carlton Davis and, oh my goodness, Christian Gonzalez had a little bit of a brain fart. Those 2 guys on the outside, I'm excited for. And then I think it's not Marcus Jones. What's his name? Their nickel. Oh, is it Jonathan? Is it Marcus Jones? I don't know. I cannot remember his name. I'm so sorry. He's been there for a little bit now. He's okay. He's a solid corner. So their secondary should be pretty good. I'm not expecting it to have issues. Their safeties are okay as well. So overall, I think the secondary should be pretty good. And with some good linebackers, I think the back end of this defense should be the best part of it. But then again, there is a reason why this team is mid. It's because they also have issues. And the biggest issue for me, maybe second biggest, is wide receiver. I'm sorry. I know they brought in Kyle Williams. They brought in Stephon Diggs. They still have Demario Douglas, Kendrick Bourne, who both have been there for a while. Kayshon Boutte, who was their former 6th-round pick, who had a really good game at the last game of the regular season. And they also have 2nd-round pick Jalen Polk and then 4th-round pick Javon Baker, those 2 wide receivers out of last year's draft. So, I mean, they got a lot of notable names, but none of these guys excite me. Stephon Diggs is coming off of a torn ACL. I'm not super excited about him going into being a wide receiver 1 and not having enough support behind him. Your next 2 best wide receivers are Mac Hollins and Demario Douglas and Kyle Williams. One of those is a rookie. Mac Hollins and Demario Douglas are lower-end starters in the NFL. I cannot be excited about that. And Jalen Polk, I was excited about Jalen Polk. He was kind of the speed to Rome Odunze's physicality when they were at Washington together with Michael Penix when they went to the national championship. But he only had 12 catches last year. And they passed on Ladd McConkey. The Patriots passed on Ladd McConkey for this guy, which is unfortunate. That really bit him in the butt. It's not like the first time the Patriots have missed on a wide receiver by taking another one that ended up being a bust. Cough, cough, N'Keal Harry. But I think it's going to be an issue. These wide receivers a lot of them are young, still developing and unproven, or the veterans that are there, I'm just not super high on. So while I think they'll be okay at best, I'm just not very confident in this wide receiver group at all. And then defensive line is another one I'm going to say is a weakness, because Christian Barmore, who's been there, he's good. There's no really much of a worry there, but Milton Williams and Kairos Tonga, these guys are new. Milton Williams is stepping into a bigger role. And so with a lot of newness on the defensive line, I'm just worried about how well it's going to gel and how effective it's going to be early on in the year. But they do have good linebackers. They do have a good secondary. So that should give them a lot of help as they continue to grow and together as teammates and as a team, as a unit. So there's definitely a lot of reason to be encouraged in believing that they could get better. But right now, I don't know that they're going to be very good to start the year with all the new players that there are, and along with being in a new coach, new scheme, and whatnot. So that type of stuff always has a chance to kind of backfire or at least cause a slow start. So not super confident early on, but I do believe that they could get better as the year goes along. And then the other weakness is edge rusher. Harold Landry, I said it earlier, was not good last year. He had 9 sacks. Wow, how is he not good? He had 9 sacks. Well, if you look at all of his advanced metrics in terms of like pass rush win rate and pressure rate, for example, he was one of the worst edge rushers in the entire NFL. Entire NFL, not even starters. It was not that good. Harold Landry he's a guy that got cleanup sacks. If a play broke down and took way too long to develop and the quarterback was still holding onto the ball, Harold Landry was the guy that would come in out of nowhere and bam, knock him down and clean up the play and end it after like 10 plus seconds. So that was kind of what Harold Landry did last year and really has not been his full like 2021 self since he tore his ACL. And that's part of the reason why I would assume Titans didn't want to pay him, so they got rid of him, and now here he is. But he's been pretty good, gets good numbers in the sack department, has started a lot of games. So the experience and also what he being with Mike Vrabel in New England, being in Tennessee, he was one of the first draft picks by Mike Vrabel in 2018 when he first got there. So a guy that can help other players understand what Mike Vrabel is about, the culture, the identity. So that's helpful too. A lot of stuff that they can't quantify is also important as to why Harold Landry is there. But overall, his play on the field is not going to be very good. And then Clavon Chason, and then a couple other guys that are there, I'm just not confident in. There's not a whole lot of talent here. And so I think the edge rusher group is going to be a problem in New England this year. But you look at their strengths and their weaknesses. They have more strengths and weaknesses. I think this is the first time in a few years where I can say that's a definitive fact for the Patriots. So that, again, is a plus. And, Bree mentioned again how good their offseason was. That is reflective of that. But now we got to get into their schedule and break it down because their schedule, the first 8 games are easy if things swing in their favor. You look at week 1 against the Raiders at home. That's going to be a tough one. I think the Raiders are going to be a better football team this year, but they're going to be in a similar position. So at home, Tom Brady, the unveiling of his statue is going to be there week 1. So you got to win that game, but it's a toss-up right now. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. But then you go on the road to the Dolphins. That's a winnable game. I don't think the Dolphins are very good this year. So that's always going to be a win-up. And then you win, and then you get Pittsburgh at home week 3. I think this is the first definitive loss for the New England Patriots. I think the Steelers are better in almost every single way. I have no reason to believe the Patriots can pull off an upset here. And then you go to Carolina. Carolina is going to be a very interesting team because for the Panthers, their defense was awful last year. They got some good pieces, so we'll see how well they improve. But with this offense and Drake May going to year 2, Drake May should look good against the Carolina Panthers defense. And conversely, the Panthers offense should be better this year. They drafted Tetairoa McMillan. They still have Xavier Legette and Adam Thielen. And so this defense should play well against the Panthers offense. So it'll be a good early test for them to see how well they perform against a younger offense that has a lot of talent. And then you go on the road to face the Buffalo Bills. Losing that game, I'm sorry. I just cannot buy into the Patriots getting the win on the road against Buffalo. And then you go on the road to face the Saints. I have you Saints. That's a winnable game. Very much so. I think the Saints are going to suck this year. I feel like I've said that so many times as many of these teams go against the New Orleans Saints. I feel so bad for Saints fans that may just click on this video and listen to it. Once we get to the Saints, oh my God, that's going to be a video where I'm just going to be straight dogging on them. But you get to the week 7. This is the single-handedly biggest game on their schedule. Same thing for the Titans when I broke down that video. It is these two teams. Mike Vrabel going back to Nashville against his former team. They fired him out of nowhere, caused a lot of uproar. People were mad. People called the Titans stupid. Here is Mike Vrabel's opportunity to prove those people right. I am sorry. The Titans are winning this football game. The Titans cannot afford to lose this football game. I have the Titans winning this football game. Call me a homer all you want. I think the Titans win this football game. I don't think they can afford to lose, and I don't think they will. So I have that as a loss, but for argument's sake, that is a winnable football game for sure. And then you host the Cleveland Browns. That's a win. Think the Browns will suck. And then here's where things get tough. The second half of the schedule really does get challenging for the New England Patriots, and it starts with week 9 at home against the Atlanta Falcons. I think the Falcons are going to be a good team this year. Their offense is going to be really good. I think it's a matter of if this defense can step up and be better. But I'm not sure about that. They got some good young talent, but they're going to take some time to develop and come along. So we'll have to see. But I think the Falcons win this game. I think they're a better football team right now. And then you go on the road to face Tampa. That's an easy win for the Bucs. And then you face the Jets at home. I think the Patriots split with the Jets this year. And being at home, give me the Patriots on a home field advantage. So you have a potential, 2-game losing streak here. Then you come back, face the Jets. And then you go on the road to face the Bengals. No. I'm sorry. I have the Bengals winning this one. I don't think they're going to have an answer to stop T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. We'll have to see. But that's going to be a very tall order for a New England Patriots team that's still very new. And then you host the New York Giants. This one's a toss-up. I think by this point, Jackson Dart is probably going to be starting games. So that kind of bodes in the Patriots' favor because Mike Vrabel loves to get pressure after young quarterbacks. He's done that a lot in his time in Tennessee. But we'll just have to see. And then you get into a late bye week. And now you got this last four-game stretch that is probably the toughest 4-game stretch on the entire schedule. You host the Buffalo Bills. I have the Bills winning this game. I don't think the Patriots are ready to stand up to Buffalo yet. But for argument's sake, the Patriots have played the Bills very closely when they're in New England, even after Tom Brady's left. So maybe that can be pulled off of an upset if the Patriots really do get a lot better as the year goes along, or they're better than I'm expecting. But right now, I think the Bills win that game. And then you go on the road against Baltimore to face the Ravens. I have the Ravens winning that game too. But another interesting note, Mike Vrabel has a good history of game planning against Lamar Jackson, the Ravens quarterback. So that'll be an interesting game to follow. And definitely for the Ravens, this will be a tougher matchup later in the year than it would have been if they faced earlier in the year. And then you go on the road to face the Jets. That's going to be a tough one. If I have the Patriots winning, and I said they're going to split, I have them winning at home. I have them losing on the road. And then to close out the year, you face Miami at home. That's another very winnable game. And if you can win that one and finish the season strong at home, that will end the season very positively, obviously, end it on a high note, and go into next year feeling very confident. So their most important games, I already mentioned the Raiders, the Steelers, Panthers, Titans. All their divisional games are going to be very important because Mike Vrabel is one of those coaches that really puts an emphasis on winning your division. Like, he talks about it more than any other coach. So every single game on the division is going to be magnified because of that. So we'll have to see how competitive his teams are early on in the year. The Dolphins on the road can be won, but it's going to be tough, obviously, in the heat. And then Buffalo on the road early in the year. I don't know if they're winning that game, but they have a better chance to beat them in December at home. So there is that. And then I have them splitting with the New York Jets. So it's going to be a tough game, tough season. It's going to be challenging, but the first half of the year could be a lot better for them if things go their way. It's a lot easier than the second half, which if the Patriots do get better as the year goes on, it's going to have to be seen in the competitiveness of this team and how well and how closely they're fighting in these games, because I don't think they're going to win that many in the second half of the year, unfortunately. So it's going to be tough to gauge them, because we're going to have to really watch the Patriots to really see if they're getting better. But I think I'm up for the challenge. I think we're up for the challenge to see if this Patriot team actually does improve. So I have the Patriots finishing second in the AFC East. I think they're going to be better than the Jets. I think they're going to be better than the Miami Dolphins. Unfortunately, I do not have them making the playoffs, not right now, but if they finish 7-10 and it's a good 7-10, we might have to have that conversation this time next year, but that's a long time away. And so my official record prediction for the New England Patriots in 2025, here it is, 7-10. I did say this team is going to be mid. The record reflects that. While I think they still had a great offseason, I think they had a good draft. Again, this team does still have holes. There's a lot of newness with this team, and so I expect it to start off slow and get a little bit better as the year goes along. And Mike Vrabel, his first time coaching the Titans, went 9-7. He inherited a playoff-ready roster. They had won a playoff game the year before. This is a rebuilding football team, so things are going to be a little bit different. I think that Mike Vrabel is probably going to win only 7 games in his first year as head coach. But if they do that, I think that's going to be a big success. Considering where they were last year, jumping to 7-10 is a massive improvement for them. And so let's look at some storylines for the Patriots that'll make them really interesting to follow this year. And obviously, number one is Drake May in year 2. Showed some good things last year, was one of the few bright spots in a boring Patriots team. And so I'm expecting him to be stabilize the position, play solid. I don't think he's going to, like I said, I don't think he's going to pop off and play insane. I don't think the Patriots have the weapons for that. But I think he should be fine. I think he should be good. I think that he should not be a liability, shouldn't be a problem. But if he can ascend his game a little bit and somehow pop off and carry these weapons, then that would bode really well for the Patriots, and they'd win more than 7 games. But because I don't like the weapons around Drake May a lot, I think that's going to hold them back. Ultimately, it'll hold him back, but I still expect him to play pretty well and build off of the positivity that he showed last year. Number 2 and the number 3 kind of go hand in hand with each other. It's team growth and culture. The thing is, Mike Vrabel is a big culture guy. He's very well respected, so that's important. I think that this Patriots team last year had none of that. They had no growth, obviously. They had no culture. And so now you get a coach in here that can really establish these two things, and I want to see this. I want to see their play on the field reflect their growth. I want to see the play on their field reflect that the culture that they've built. I want to see all that stuff in action. And if we see that stuff, that will mean the Patriots are a better football team. That's where we will truly see if the Patriots are very much improved. If we don't see that their culture is coming together, if we don't see team growth, then that's not going to look good. So I'm going to be looking at a lot of those non-quantifiable things on the Patriots, on the field, off the field, on the sideline, and to see how much better their team gets. And then number 4, this is a nuanced one, but has Mike Vrabel learned from his time in Tennessee as their head coach? I made a video when I did predictions versus reality back at the end of last year. I'll throw a card up here so you guys can go listen to it. I had a rant on Mike Vrabel because at that point they had hired him as their head coach. And in that rant, I mentioned numerous things that I had a problem with Mike Vrabel in his time as a Titans head coach. And like I said before, I'm a diehard Titans fan, so I know a thing or two about Mike Vrabel. I can say that with confidence. I've watched this guy coach our team for 6 years and been through the good and been through the bad. And so in that rant, I detailed a lot of the things that I had problems with Mike Vrabel in terms of how bad his offenses were, his offensive philosophy being extremely outdated, along with horrible draft picks. Not entirely his fault, but he's not innocent either. Along with when he wanted more power in the organization and wanted more roster control, he got it and his team got worse because of it. So a lot of that stuff I'm looking to see. Has Mike Vrabel learned? Has he improved? And some of what they've done this offseason for the New England Patriots is very encouraging. I mentioned Josh McDaniels. His offense was very diverse, pass heavy, also can utilize the run, a lot more modern compared to what Mike Vrabel had in Tennessee, where it's give the ball to Derrick Henry 30 times a game and win 13-10. That's how the Titans won games throughout Mike Vrabel's era, except for 2019 and 2020, where our offense was really good. And then Arthur Smith left and everything went to crap because Todd Downing came in. Remember when he talked about that? And so there was that, and then bringing in guys like Travion Henderson, who can catch the ball out of the backfield and is more and really explosive. That's exciting. And then Kyle Williams. This is the big one for me because I mentioned it. Mike Vrabel offenses in Tennessee almost never used a slot receiver. The slot receiver was like an afterthought. And so seeing them use a 3rd-round pick on Kyle Williams, very explosive, 17 yards a catch like I mentioned, he should develop and slowly grow into a role in this offense where you start to see him take more snaps as the year goes along, you would hope. And so seeing them invest into a player like that is exciting. That tells me that there is a good chance Mike Vrabel has learned from his time in Tennessee and has improved as a coach, which is what you want to see. And if that is the case, that is that would be very encouraging for this franchise. And I do want to say this might be a little bit of a rant, call me a Titans homer for this one, but a lot of people, they're going to say that if Mike Vrabel does well, I'll say this, Mike Vrabel does well, and it shows that he has learned from his time coaching the Titans in Tennessee. People are going to continue to say, oh, the Titans are idiots for getting rid of Mike Vrabel, this, and that. Well, let me tell you something. As a Titans fan, Mike Vrabel was a good coach. He was a dang good coach at that. But he was not the right coach to bring the Titans into this new era that they're in right now. Mike Vrabel, when he came into Tennessee, inherited a playoff team that won a playoff game And for a moment, actually kind of looked good against the Patriots for the first quarter, and then everything fell apart. And back in 2017, if you guys remember, that was the game, or the week before, it was against Kansas City, where Mariota threw a touchdown pass to himself. That's what happened. That's the year before Mike Vrabel came in. And so he inherited an already good roster. And when it came time to retool and rebuild the Titans and give them a good infusion of youth, he wasn't able to do that. And so now that it seems like he may have with Will Campbell, Travion Henderson, and Kyle Williams, I don't want to hear people saying, oh, the Titans are an idiot for getting rid of Mike Vrabel. Just because he learned from his issues in Tennessee does not mean that the Titans are idiots for firing Mike Vrabel. We'll have to see. Maybe he's great and Brian Callahan in Tennessee is awful again. And then, okay, yeah, we can probably make the argument can be made. I don't agree with it, but I understand the baseless. But I wanted to say that before because I've been kind of sitting on that for a while. And now here's my opportunity to say it in a relevant area. So there it is, kind of a little bit of an impromptu little Homer thing, Titans Homer thing in a Patriots video, but there's a lot of parallels between the Titans and the Patriots, so it makes kind of makes sense to talk about it. But that is going to do it for our discussion, though. Hope you guys have enjoyed, and if you guys have made it this far, please consider hitting the like button and the subscribe button. It's free, takes only a couple seconds to push, and it helps the channel out tremendously as we're trying to reach 500 subscribers before the end of the 2025 regular season. So far, we're almost at 130. You guys are doing a fantastic job. So keep spreading the word, keep getting people to push those two buttons, and keep on growing the community that we're going here. And speaking of community, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, guys. I want to see what you guys have to say. Do you think the Patriots are going to be better than 7-10? Do you think they're going to be worse? Do you like their offseason? Do you like their draft picks? Tell me what you guys think about the Patriots and how I have them going in 2025. And lastly, make sure you guys share this video, share my content, and also follow me on social media, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, all that good stuff. Getting ready to post social media clips there later in the week, hopefully. At least I'm going to be getting their scripts written down this week, so that's where that's at. So for now, make sure you go do all those fun stuff. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, go follow me on social media, all that good stuff every YouTuber tells you to do. But that will do it for this discussion for me today, and hope you guys have enjoyed it. And as always, I will see you all next time.